Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Trade Block Podcast. We are back. It's been a little while. We had to take a little break, but we're back and we're better than ever. Today, we are going to talk about a lot of things. First, we're going to talk about a little bit of a hot take that Riley has. It's about Deshaun Watson. You want to get into it, Riley?
Yeah. So, first thing I want to do is I want to connect to the viewers and listeners because I need them to sympathize with Deshaun Watson for a second. Picture this. You're Deshaun Watson. You're in the playoffs. You're playing the Chiefs. You almost beat the Chiefs because you're playing amazingly offensively. And then Patrick Mahomes comes and he scores 50 on your defense. You're Deshaun Watson. You're sad about that. But you know what? You guys played great in the playoffs. You guys are going to do great next year. This is a promising future. So, what does your amazing head coach do? Well, he makes a move that, no one really understands at the time, but, I'm sure in 50 years we're going to see the genius of it. But he trades away DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. Who's DeAndre Hopkins?
And a second round.
If I'm Deshaun Watson, that's
right.
my number one receiver. That's my best receiver. That's the best receiver in the league. Arguably, top three. Now, he's on the Cardinals with Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray is playing great with them. But that leaves a lot of people to think that Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, even though we all know that he isn't. He's had the best streak that he's had, that a lot of quarterbacks have had, 1,700 throwing yards, 70% completion rate, no interceptions. And it's just been amazing. And he's having a great career, but his defense and his team and the coaching are just letting him down. And so that leads people to think Kyler's better than him. But I'm saying Deshaun Watson is a top 4 at number 4 quarterback.
So, are you saying Deshaun Watson is better than Kyler Murray this year?
Yes.
Yes, you're wrong. Okay. All right. We can get that out of the way. I mean, Kyler Murray is in MVP conversations. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are competing with the Seahawks, who are a big favorite in the NFC. And the Cardinals are a good team. The Texans are not. Okay, it's about team success too. It's not just Deshaun's good and he would be better. You can't say he would be better with DeAndre. Kyler Murray. Okay, if you're gonna say over the career, I understand you arguing Deshaun over Kyler. That makes sense. You can argue that even for the future. You can argue you could take Deshaun over Kyler. However, this year, absolutely not. Kyler's better this year.
Yeah, let me get something in
Benji,
before.
please go. Benji, before we filmed this, was looking for a piece of evidence that, I tried to hide, and I did successfully.
Yeah,
because
okay.
It was actually 100% deep ball accuracy for Deshaun Watson, but,
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, all right, before he starts spewing any more lies, I just want to say I completely understand if you're making this argument last year. I don't know if Riley's stuck in the past or something, but I don't know if you've watched Kyler Murray. He has been absolutely electric this year. He looks like he's the fastest player on the field at any given time. And, he is a little turnover hefty. I will say that Deshaun Watson is more conservative with the football than Kyler Murray. But being conservative on the football field doesn't necessarily lead to wins. I don't think Deshaun Watson would have thrown that pass to DeAndre Hopkins, even if they were on the same team playing that Buffalo Bills team. I think that the style of his play makes him that much better than Deshaun Watson and is why he should be above him at number 4.
Jake, you said something interesting about team success that I completely agree with. And that is probably the reason that Kyler is the MVP candidate over Deshaun Watson. I think if Deshaun Watson was on the Cardinals, they would definitely be doing, as good, maybe even better. Because Deshaun Watson can run the ball very effectively. He can throw the ball much more conservatively, as Benji said. Kyler Murray has run, I think...
Doesn't make him a better thrower.
11 interceptions, a few fumbles. Deshaun Watson has 4 interceptions and fumbles over the entire season. When you're looking at long-term success, that is one of the most important factors. You especially did not like Ryan Fitzpatrick because he was throwing so many interceptions. But, now
does Ryan Fitzpatrick have the legs of Kyler Murray? Am I missing something here? Is a 37-year-old?
He was the leading rusher.
When was the last time you checked?
Yeah, did you check 14 years ago when you were in the womb? Is that what's going on?
Who knows when I checked it? Those stats are mine and for my purposes only.
Yeah, they're yours and not anyone else's.
That's correct.
That's really good to know.
Look, bottom line, to all the Kyler stands, I love Kyler too. And, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see how close my fingers are between 4 and 5. They're so close, But the thing is, I just got to take Deshaun over it because Deshaun looks better when he plays. And
he's more attractive. Is that what you're saying?
Whoa!
Is that what you're saying?
All right.
I mean, hey, if that's how you judge,
you know what? Maybe.
You go for it, bro.
Okay, I'll argue that Deshaun Watson's more attractive than Kyler Murray. I'll get on that. Riley
came to a consensus.
Riley wins the debate.
All right, yeah, we can't pick Kyler because he's only 5'10", and we know that people don't necessarily like
5'10's pretty tall, actually. I just heard 5'10's very tall.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm 5'10 and a half. I'm 5'10 and a half, so actually it's not
That's
that tall.
True. We'll see on Monday.
So maybe the only way to settle this is if we get both of the quarterbacks to come on our glorious set, of our Zoom call.
I don't think
if you're listening to this and your name is Deshaun
we have the facilities for that.
We have to let Riley go one-on-one in an Oklahoma drill with Kyler and Deshaun and see what happens. All right. And then,
if you're listening to this and your name is Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray and you play for the Texans or the Cardinals, we'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
So
to argue your side. So. But anyway, I think we should
they're
probably...
They're calling their agents right now. They're calling their agents right now.
Yeah. No, I think we should move on to the next topic that we have. And this was a very joyous moment that we had when this occurred. This was Matt Patricia finally being let go from the Lions. And I'm sure Andres feels very relieved that his team is back on track. We all love to poke fun, especially Riley, coming from the Bill Belichick tree, how terrible he was, but finally he's gone. But now we're going to talk about who could possibly fill that vacancy. And because I don't think the Lions are really a terrible football team. I think that they have some good playmakers. But, you probably need a coach that's going to set you on the right track. And I think some of us have some ideas. And I think Andres has one that he wants to talk about. So let him do that.
First of all, I just want to start off by talking about how big a day this is for the city of Detroit. I'd say arguably this goes top 3 with the day Henry Ford was born and the day Big Sean dropped his first album. I say that's top 3 up there, the day that Matt Patricia was fired. Okay. It's Eric Bieniemy. I'm sorry. I don't see any reason why it's not. I know you have some big counter argument, Benji. That's fine. Offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. That's all he needs to write on his resume. I feel like the Lions have hired people for way less, just because you knew Bill Belichick. Which, by the way, we have to get over this Bill Belichick coaching tree because they're all terrible except for Nick Saban. The rest of them are terrible. Okay, sure, that's fine. That's a good point. But no, that's the last good point you'll make on this. It's Eric Bieniemy. It's Eric Bieniemy. I'm sorry. Do I even have to argue anymore? He's the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. Well, I think the Chiefs get 2 second-round picks if someone hires him. Is that correct? Because of the new rule.
Oh, that's true.
That's the only reason I can think why the Lions shouldn't hire him, because the rich shouldn't get richer. The Chiefs shouldn't get more picks. But it's Eric Bieniemy. I'm sorry.
Well, the reason why I think that that's wrong is that I think it's very bold of you to assume that Eric Bieniemy wants to leave the Chiefs and go coach the Lions.
It's a step up from OC to head coach.
Yeah, but you're going to an organization that's one of the 2 organizations all time to go 0-16.
Well, Brian Flores went from the Pats to the Dolphins, so
Well, yeah, but
No?
he wasn't even the defensive coordinator at that time. I mean, that was like
Sure.
a really big step up. BMB, he's already a focal point of that team. I mean, him and Andy Reid both probably call plays, but he's a really important factor. And I don't know if the Chiefs would want to let him go, if I'm being honest. But hear me out with this take, all right? There's a guy in the state of Michigan, you know, right down the street. You know, he's coaching college football, but, you know, the rumor mill says that he may or may not want to
Where are
leave
you
the
getting these
University of
rumors?
Michigan.
Sources.
Instagram.
Same place Riley gets his rumors that Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, exactly. We all have our own statistics that we like to use.
Okay.
But, you know, I think the main thing that was wrong with Matt Patricia is his leadership. You know, I don't think he really got a good hold of that locker room ever. I mean, I remember
And play
2
calling
years ago.
and clock management.
Oh, you know,
and
everything else is bad.
overall
but,
football knowledge. But
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think
Leadership
you need a
is up
guy
there.
who has authority. He's made it to a Super Bowl before. And this guy is Jim
Like
Harbaugh.
Eric Bieniemy.
No, it's Jim Harbaugh.
Different
I think
Super
it makes
Bowl. Okay.
so much sense. I mean, he's near the end of his career. I think he'll probably retire by the end of the decade, maybe in like 5 years.
If he
But this could
doesn't, the
be-
Lions will make him.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this would be like a nice like way to end it, you know, in the same state that he started with everything in college, going through his whole career, ending in Detroit. I don't know. I just think like it's a perfect fit, and you get a guy who knows what he's doing, unlike Matt Patricia, and a guy who can handle a locker room, and he's an older guy with experience. And I think that's what you need with this Lions team, because they're a young football team. I mean, obviously they're led with Matthew Stafford, but still, this is a really young team. So I think that this would probably be the best fit. I don't know. I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, wow, this might be like a match made in heaven. Like, no Super Bowl or anything, but he could set him on the right track. But those are our thoughts on that. Anyway, I think we should move on to our next.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
And BMB's obviously, I would rather have BMB, but I just don't see him leaving. I mean, I think it's kind of like Josh McDaniels, you know? Like,
Right.
They're just waiting it out because there's no reason for them to really leave. I mean, McDaniels is going to get the head coaching job after Bill leaves. It's only a matter of time.
I will say coaches transitioning from college to the NFL have been pretty successful lately. You know,
Yeah.
Matt Rule, I mean, like the record doesn't show it, but Cliff, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, I will say, I think those are the top two prospects. I think more realistically, it'll probably be Harbaugh, just because of what you said. Like, why would you leave the Chiefs right now? And if you're leaving the Chiefs, why would you go to Detroit? But I love the city of Detroit. Never been there, but I hear it's really nice. So, I mean, hey, you could give me a head coaching nod. I mean, I'll call him straight out of Madden. But yeah.
Yeah, if
Next
you
topic?
want to go down there, you know?
No, I don't. But next topic.
The next topic that we have is we're transitioning to the NBA and free agency and the draft. You know, when we were on our little hiatus, all of that occurred. And now that everything's done, we have some winners and losers and overall thoughts. So, Jake, who is your winner for the 2020 free agency / draft period?
All right, so this
Or
is
loser,
a little bit.
actually.
I'll give you one of each. So I'll go really quickly. So Detroit made some very questionable signings. Okay, we all know they've signed like a lot of bigs for absolutely no reason. They let go of Christian Wood, and they signed Jeremy Grant to like a deal way bigger than what Christian Wood got for some reason. I don't know why. They're very questionable.
Well, Jeremy Grant was good in the playoffs.
Jeremy Grant is great. He's a very good player. But
Yeah.
is he worth like double what Christian Wood's getting?
No.
Absolutely not.
I don't think so. However, I really, really like their draft. I love Killian Hayes. Okay. I believe they got Sadiq Bey as well.
Yeah.
They made some very, very good picks in the draft. That I think Killian Hayes is the steal of the draft already.
Really?
I think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to be Luka Doncic, but I think he's going to be close. Okay, he's played in the EuroLeague. He's done very well. He's very young, got a lot of potential, a lot of room to grow. I think he's going to be the face of the franchise for a long time to come. And because of that, I'm going to give them a win. I'm going to say they're a winner. Even with all the questionable signings, I don't think it's going to affect them too much in the long term. So I think they have set themselves up very nicely with this draft.
I don't see anything that like makes me go like, wow, they won. You know, like they've got like aging Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, let go of Christian Wood and Andre Drummond. Like Killian Hayes is a bright spot, but like still like a rookie. Like he's not taking them to the playoffs. So like, you know, like mediocrity out of Detroit.
Doesn't have a job. I mean, they also like
Right.
signed Mason Plumlee. Really weird signing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they let go of Christian Wood as well. I mean, he seemed to be that bright spot on that team.
The rest of their offseason was questionable at best.
So you just like
We'll
the
say
Killian Hayes pick.
I love Killian Hayes, man. I love Killian Hayes.
He's a great
Honestly,
guard.
if you put them as a loser, I would completely agree with you. But just because of the Killian Hayes pick, I was going to give this to whoever drafted him, and they need a point guard. They need a point guard especially. Like, I mean, obviously they have Derrick Rose, but most likely they're either going to trade him or this is going to be his last year with the team. So I think they've set themselves up very nicely for the future with Killian Hayes.
And he's a good mentor too. Derrick Rose, you know, he's had his fair share of stuff in his career. Probably going to be a Hall of Famer at the end of the day.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, better than Braun, you know, back in his day. But I am
Braun sold.
I'm going to propose a winner here and another questionable choice, but I'm going to say it's the OKC Thunder. And the sole reason for that is they are building for the future and they are set. I mean, I was looking at the draft picks and they have 24 total in the next 5 years up until 2025. And a majority of them, 14 of those picks, are first-round picks. I'm pretty sure that in every single draft that they have at least 2 first-round picks. And even if you have a 25% hit rate on those 24 picks, you're getting 4 solid players who could be anywhere from like a solid role player to an all-pro. And you already have guys like Lou Dort and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Diallo and all of these young guys there. This team could be really well set up. I love what Sam Presti's doing down there. I think that if you give him some time, he's going to make the right choices on at least some of these picks. And since they have the luxury of taking so many guys, they're really going to be able to develop organically. And then maybe with a free agent addition or two, you know, down the road, getting a veteran guy, this could be a team that could shake some stuff up in the future.
Yeah, if only they had like a veteran point guard or something.
Well, I think it was the right
move.
I think it was the right move getting rid of him. I think this was the perfect time to capitalize on his value. He's not going to have more value. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he went to a good team with the Suns. The Suns should be good playoff contenders next year. So it worked out for both teams.
I think it's very hard to not call the Thunder a winner. Like just with that amount of picks, like it's very hard not to.
Sam Presti to go.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he could take MJ 101. Okay. I want to talk about a team, like, I don't know why they aren't getting more hype because I'll do this quickly. The 76ers. 76ers got Morey, which, like I know, like, he didn't do all that much in Houston, but he's still a pretty good executive. They got Doc, which is, like, he's a great head coach. Like, he has a stacked resume. Tyrese Maxey in the draft, which is, like, I've heard great things about him. And then you dumped the Al Horford contract. You dump Josh Richardson, which, like, he wasn't doing anything. You get Seth Curry and Danny Green, which, like, you needed more shooters to surround Ben Simmons. You get Dwight Howard to accompany Joel Embiid, and then you keep Ben Simmons. Like, I think that was a perfect offseason. Like, I think that was exactly what they needed. Outside of, like reassembling the dream team, like, I think that was exactly what they needed, honestly. I don't think they could have done much better with the cards they were dealt. I think it was a fantastic offseason.
I mean, we'll see how Danny Green pans out. If he goes back to form and isn't like, you know, Lakers Danny Green playoffs hitting the side of the backboard, you know, then they could be a very big pickup. And I like the Seth Curry pickup as well. So yeah, they did have a very successful.
I'd like to say this current roster is the best 76ers roster since Allen Iverson was on the team. Like, I think it was better than the team that almost beat Kawhi. Like, I think roster-wise, they had Jimmy. It's arguable. But this is definitely better than last year's team.
Yeah, but in terms of chemistry, I think the main issue with the 76ers last year was coaching and then also spacing. Because when you have a guy like Ben
Sure.
Simmons running point who can't shoot to save his life, you need shooters who are going to space out the floor. I
Right.
mean, you literally had guys last year who were sitting in the paint when guarding Ben Simmons.
Right.
I mean, like, they know he's not going to shoot. And I don't think he's going to be a great shooter ever in his career. I think he might develop over the next year or two to the point where he's going to
A
have to
threat,
be
at
guarded.
least.
Yeah, like he could be like a 25% shooter from three, and if you leave him open, he's going to take it. But I think that the trading of Seth Curry is huge because that brings in much needed shooting. And I mean, you get rid of Josh Richardson, but you guys are solid on defense. Like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are very good defensively, and adding in some of that offensive firepower definitely should be talked about more. And they're probably going to make a push that was at least more competitive than last year.
And Danny Green, I mean, I know we talked, like, I know what happened in the playoffs. Like, we all saw it, the collapse. But, like, in the regular season, like, I think it had something to do with, like, the bubble affecting him. Because in the regular season, he was on fire. Like, he was still great. He's the Danny Green we all remember. The game against the Mavericks for the Lakers, like, he sent them to overtime, you know? Like,
Yeah.
he's still that dude. I think he just needed a change of atmosphere. And they got rid of Brett Brown, and they got Doc. So, I think
great.
A+ off season.
One more team I want to run by real quick before we move on is the Atlanta Hawks, because this could be a hot take. I honestly could see them making a push for like a 5 seed this year. I mean, the defense isn't necessarily there, but in terms of young talent right now, I mean, you have Trae Young and John Collins and Capella. You added Bogdanovich. There's a ton of really good players who all can shoot, and I think that this team is going to mesh very well together. Trae might be in the MVP conversation along with Luka come playoff time, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they had a great offseason, but would you put them over Boston, Milwaukee, Miami, Philly, or the Nets? I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but
either.
I wouldn't be surprised if one of those teams flops and comes in as like a 7 seed, and then having the Hawks like
Sure.
just barely sneak in. I mean, I don't think the Raptors are going to be as good as they were last year. I'm kind of concerned about them. All of those teams, there's a lot of good teams, obviously, but you never know. That's what I'm going to say. And this team, I think they're 1 year away. I think they're going to be this year's Mavericks, because now the Mavericks, I think, are going to be a top 4 seed this year. I mean, Luka's going to carry them to the playoffs. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do it this year. But anyway, moving on to the next topic, we're going to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs. And I don't know if you guys follow our Twitter. Probably don't. If you don't follow our Twitter at TradeBlock Sport. We're trying to get more active on there. And we posted a take about an 8-team playoff. And it's obviously not going to happen this year. But going forward, I think that there should be more representation in the playoffs because, number one, it's the same thing every year now. I mean, you have Bama and you have Clemson, and then you get like another team from the ACC or the SEC, and then like a Big 12 team or a Big 10 team. This year, that's Notre Dame and Ohio State. But, you know, after that, you know, there's not really any competition. Like, you can make an argument for Florida or like Texas A&M, but they don't really have a chance now, I don't think. So I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on what an 8-team playoff would be and what teams should have a chance of getting in even if they don't this year.
I think, Florida, UF has been kind of electric this year with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts, kind of like a Kyle duo right there. You know, they've been playing amazing. And the
Tyler Murray.
offense just looks great. You know, we're from Florida. We like Florida teams. That's not why I'm saying this. Like, you know, Kyle Trask is in Heisman conversations, you know, the way that he's been playing, just completely electric. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays well and plays pretty like above average in the NFL. So kind of a short take, but consider UF NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. If they didn't lose to A&M, I think that they would probably only be the 5 seed because the other teams have been so dominant. But they're definitely a team that should be in a playoff. And it sucks that they're not going to because only 4 get in. And I think 2 more teams that I want to talk about. is Cincinnati and BYU. I mean, they're some of the only teams right now not in Power 5 conferences. BYU's an independent, but they are really playing well this year. I mean, Cincinnati is one of the most athletic teams in the country, and they've been killing teams all year. I get it's not in a Power 5, but still, like, the dominance that they've shown, I think that they would be able to play really well in a Power 5 conference. And then you have Zach Wilson, who's probably going to be a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft. And the way that he's played and the disrespect that the college football playoff showed them at putting them at 14 is insane to me. I think that they're 100% a top 10 team right now, along with Cincinnati. And I think that if there was an 8-team playoff, they would definitely be able to get in.
I'm just concerned about their schedules, honestly. Like, they're not playing the toughest of teams.
Yeah,
So
That's it.
I think I 100% agree with you on the 18 playoff thing. Like, for instance, right, UCF's magical undefeated season, right? We didn't really know how good they were because they hadn't played anyone good. Like, to Andres' point, these teams don't typically play the best competition. But so why not make an 18 playoff to see how they would stack up against like some of these more Power 5 teams, like SEC teams? I think it would be the perfect opportunity to really see, are they that good? UCF shocked everyone. They beat Auburn in their bowl game. Yep. Who knows what would have happened if they played Bama or if they had played Georgia or someone like that in the CFP. I think absolutely an 18 playoff needs to happen. It'll give more opportunities to lesser teams who go undefeated but don't have the chance. And like these one-loss teams, such as Clemson. Clemson's probably going to make it in over,
Clemson's making it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and they lost to Notre Dame. I mean, obviously they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. Okay, that's a fair point. But at the same time, BYU or UC might not make it in, and they might go undefeated, and they still might not make it in.
They won't.
No, they won't.
And Clemson's going to make it in at their expense. I think absolutely making an eight playoff team would fix those problems. And maybe they get blown out. Maybe Cincinnati or BYU would just get blown out, and we'd have this argument again. But maybe a team like UCF comes along and they upset Bama, and then everything goes crazy. Who knows? Like, I think absolutely they deserve a chance.
My only argument against it, and I agree with everything that was said, and like it's just a quick one. If we did have an 8-team playoff format, would Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, or Notre Dame really lose the first round? Like, I feel like it just ended up being like the 4-team, like the same one we'd have, just like in the second round,
I wouldn't be surprised if one of them lost. I would be surprised, but I think especially in college, I think college is really unpredictable. Like in the NFL, you kind of get a grasp of who's going to win, who's good, who's not. But I mean, we see it in March Madness all the time. You could have a 1 seed losing to a 16 seed like Virginia did, and I don't think anyone saw that coming. So to say that a 1 seed Alabama wouldn't lose to an 8 seed Cincinnati, I think is kind of not giving enough credit to the teams that aren't playing as tough schedules or playing in better conferences. I mean, I think that UCF team really would have had a shot. I don't know if they would have won the whole thing, but if they were in a playoff, I could have totally seen them going in the second round. I mean, Auburn was a good team that year, and
they beat both Georgia and Bama, who both made the CFP that year. And then they beat Auburn. So, I mean, who knows what would have happened.
And one crazy thing that I want to point out as well is that I think since Notre Dame is in the ACC this year, Clemson and Notre Dame are going to play again in the ACC championship unless one of them loses over the next 2 weeks. And if Clemson with Trevor Lawrence wins, that probably doesn't knock Notre Dame out of the playoffs.
No, they both still make it.
Yeah. I mean, if Clemson loses again,
unfair.
If Clemson loses again, then
maybe you see a Florida sneaking in there. But still, I mean, you're going to have 3 one-win teams. You're going to have 2 one-win teams, Ohio State and Bama. One-loss teams. Bama and Ohio State being the undefeated teams. But then you have these other guys who dominated the entire year not getting enough credit, and you're going to see them playing a bowl game that probably isn't going to be as competitive as it should be. And I just think that opening it up a little more and adding 8 teams gives the potential for an Alabama versus Cincinnati or Alabama versus BYU, which I don't know about you, but Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson would be a really fun matchup. I mean, we've seen these college quarterbacks go at it. We've seen Tua and Kyler, Deshaun, all of these guys. But I think that if you aren't in a Power 5 conference, there's just no chance that you can make it right now. And I think that needs to change. And I think there needs to be some expansion. Okay, so I think we have one more topic that we want to cover today, and it's going to be our game of the week for Week 13, and that's going to be the Cardinals versus the Rams. I don't know exactly who I'm going to pick just yet, but I really don't like picking against my guy Kyler. So it's going to be hard. However, this Ram defense is for real. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
My thoughts are sometimes the Rams defense is for real. Sometimes they're not so for real.
So any defense ever?
Well, yeah. Look, they're a weird team because, they beat the Seahawks. Oh, they lose to the Dolphins. What?
I think we can call that.
Well, that was
an
on the
upset.
offense.
It's kind of weird
because
it's kind of weird because I think of this team as is Jared Goff going to have a higher end on the mediocre side or a lower end on the mediocre side, and whichever one of those is, they usually determines how well they do.
To sum it up, you said, is Jared Goff going to play good or bad? That determines if they win. Is that what you said?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
God,
It's an astute observation.
But if your name is Sean McVay and you are the head coach of the Rams, listen to me. Cooper Kupp is a top 1 receiver in the league right now.
No, stop it.
Not only
Stop.
is he my son, but he was amazing. He was the number 2 receiver in fantasy for a few weeks last year. Please, Sean McVay, tell Goff to throw it to my boy Kupp. That's my take. All
Well,
right?
I don't know. Whoever Pat Pete is going to be covering this week, they're not going to get targeted. So if that's Cooper Kupp, then I don't know.
Well,
You
whoever
can make
Jalen
Cal
Ramsey
say
is
otherwise.
covering is not getting targeted, and I think we know who he's covering.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if that's necessarily
I think they're
true.
still going to target him.
I
don't
think
think
the
they're going
margin
to
is
throw it
very
to Andy
slim.
Isabella all of a sudden because
Hey,
Jalen Ramsey is covering.
I will not tolerate
I'm not
Christian
disrespecting.
Kirk
I'm not
slander.
disrespecting Christian Kirk or Andy Isabella. Okay, they're both very solid wide receivers. Listen, this game. Listen, divisional games are always weird. Okay, we know that. If realistically, the Cardinals are probably a better team than the Rams. The Rams are very inconsistent. They're very bipolar. I'll agree with Riley there. Sometimes their defense shows up and is the best defense in the league. Sometimes they get scored on it's nothing. So I'll agree with that. I think the Rams show up today in this game. And I think they don't shut down Kyler, but they contain him enough to the point where Jared Goff can make some plays on offense, and they win this game. I'll say it is going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but the Rams outscored the Cardinals in the end of the day, and the Rams get the dub.
Well, for this game, Kyler Murray isn't having the best game. Honestly, he's having his worst game of the entire year against the Patriots right now. And, I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, Bill is very good at stopping QBs like Kyler Murray, young, fast QBs. I mean, we saw it with Lamar Jackson earlier in the year. But I feel like Kyler is just going to be able to bounce back. I know that they have Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, but, he's been playing great all year, and I don't think one game is going to change the tide. I mean, we were just talking about how he's already in the MVP conversation and playing better than Deshaun Watson. I don't think that one game is going to necessarily stop his entire momentum. I think that he's going to bounce back, and they're going to be able to get this one.
Look, no one's playing better defensive football on the planet than Aaron Donald. He's Defensive Player of the Year, as far as I'm concerned. Jalen Ramsey is off from a game where he just shut down DK Metcalf, one of the most impressive players in the league. Jared Goff, look, he wasn't great against Tampa, but, he's never great. He's mediocre, right? And, I'll take a mediocre quarterback with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, Look, he's not going to be great. Once again, I'd like to say, if Matthew Stafford was on that team, I'd be talking about them like they're a Super Bowl contender. Whatever. Love Matthew Stafford. Start him. But look. I think they beat Arizona. I think they're the best team in the NFC West right now. The Rams. I think they would beat the Seahawks if they were playing them right now. I think they beat the Cardinals. And obviously they beat the 49ers. No question about it.
That's a hot one to end on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm a little bit
Did
surprised.
anyone want to say anything about that?
Well, the 49ers is a
Russell
given.
Wilson a little bit there.
The 49ers
But-
is a given.
Right.
But,
We
like,
all
Seahawks
kind of.
are
I
not.
think we all pick them, or except Benji against the Cardinals.
Who?
The Rams. Rams over
The
Cardinals.
Rams?
We all picked
I'm
them.
taking the Rams, but I'm not taking the Rams with the Seahawks.
Riley's
I'm going to
still
take the
saying-
Cardinals on this one.
Let's go.
You can't
Wait,
say.
wait a second.
Stop
He likes
switching
Kyler
back
now.
and
Wait
forth,
a second.
man.
He likes Kyler.
I'm not talking
Kyler,
about Kyler. You realize that there's more people on the 53-man roster.
Nope.
He's the
Nope,
best.
it's only Kyler
He's
Murray.
the
It's only
second
Kyler
best
Murray.
on that team.
Kyler
That was the
Murray
best
is
thing
the only
Riley
person
said
there.
all episode.
I hate it here.
That was so
I hate
great.
it
All
here.
of that.
That just
I'd rather-
invalidates
nope, I'm
everything
taking
you
the
said
Cardinals.
previously.
I'm taking the
My
Cardinals.
point.
I hate
You
it
know,
here.
although my beautiful Pats, managed to force the wind to move that kick out of the uprights, and now there's a chance to tie it and to go into OT.
Okay.
The Cards are still a good team, and I think they're going to be the Rams.
Yeah, they are.
Look,
Yeah.
they're off. The Rams are off a 2-win streak over the Seahawks and Tampa Bay, which are arguably like 2 and 3 in the NFC. Like, what else do they have to do to prove themselves? Beat
Tampa
the
Bay
Cardinals?
is
I think
also
they'll do it.
kinda
Yeah, beat Kyler
inconsistent.
Murray.
Tampa Bay's what? Okay, inconsistent. Fine. Yeah, that's solid. But they're still a good team.
Yeah,
They have one
no,
of the
I
best
agree.
offenses in the league and a great defense.
Yeah,
I would
mean,
say I want to
they're
talk
fine.
more about Tampa Bay's defense. I think that's the more important thing. Because, when their offense plays, they're one of the better teams in the league. But when their offense doesn't play, the defense is still pretty good.
I'd say the
although,
defense better than the offense. I mean, Tom Brady definitely has his fair share of duds that he likes to throw now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were talking about it earlier where he's just 0-19 on deep ball throws, which is terrible. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We're going to be posting throughout the week, so check out if you want to see specific clips on the topics that we talked about today. And we're going to be a lot more active on Instagram. Check us out there at Trade Block Podcast and Twitter at Trade Block Sport. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this week.